Hey there, welcome. My name is Julie. I don't even know what this is going to be about yet, but I'm waiting for a video to upload. I noticed that it's taking a particularly larger toll on my connection, so I shut off all of my other devices from my Wi-Fi so that this particular video can upload easier. And I decided that instead of picking up and cleaning right now, which I could do instead, I'm going to just talk, maybe pull a few cards, and we'll talk like a general reading. But the first thing I felt like saying when I started was just like this, like I'm hesitant to say the word urgence, because I don't think it's my place to influence or tell people what to do. But it's a little bit of a catch-22 because I feel like it's so important that we decide for ourselves, that we're sovereign, that we are getting our input from inside of us, from our hearts, from our soul, from our own urges. And if we let ourselves run on the programs of the past that have been instilled in us through the environment that we have been in prior to now, or, what our parents had thought or constructed as a story for them to navigate life in, if we limit ourselves to what we've been told or what somebody else is doing, I just feel like it's so sad when that happens, because like we're here as conscious creators. We get to choose. We get to live the life that we came to live. And the only way to do that is to really tune into ourselves and to know that what we're doing is not because we're trying to live up to someone else's expectation or our idea of success or some preconceived notion that is not true. I feel like it's like, thank God I questioned everything, For me, it just started unraveling once I questioned one thing. Everything that I questioned started unraveling. I was caught in a web of lies, and those lies had me suffering. I was literally in suffering, and I felt like a victim, and I thought that there wasn't enough to go around in life. And I was scared all the time, and I was living a life of fear. And it was below the surface a lot of times. I didn't know I was doing that. I wasn't thinking that I was creating my life into fear. I wasn't thinking that I was doing anything other than surviving. But now that I know that, thriving isn't just for lucky people. It's just, thriving is what happens when you take responsibility for your own programming, for the own reality that you create for yourself, for how you navigate life. And if you take those prompts from an inner locus of control, then you navigate in such a way that you discover and understand what you need to move forward toward your destiny, toward what you came here for toward free creative state where you get to so-called leave your mark. You get to be here on Earth. I mean, have you looked at Earth? How beautiful it is? How majestical it is? How amazing it is? Have you looked at your fellow humans? I always feel so sad for people who are stuck in that little place where they think they don't like people. It's like, no. Maybe you don't like programming that people are in. Maybe you don't like some of the behaviors people are doing. Maybe you are being rubbed on in your own programming that is trying to come to your attention with someone annoying you. But humans are amazing. Humans are great. Humans are beautiful. And because they're souls navigating Earth in a body, in a biological machine that is perfectly orchestrated, that responds to them, and that they get to build a relationship with. And sometimes we don't know that. Early on, one of the things I knew I was going to do when I understood about, being here on Earth and my ability to be a creator, I didn't know I had a lot of work to do before I could do this, but like one of the things was always going to be like, I'm going to grow my lost teeth back. I absolutely believe that that is something I will do. And plenty of people don't believe me, and that's okay. Like, they don't need to. But like, that's just an example of me being so in tune with my body that I know what we're capable of. I know that I have stem cells. I know that I can use my focus to direct them. I know that, once I'm comfortable in a lot of other ways in life, that may be where I put my focus next. It's like there's obviously a priority list, and so you could argue that, well, why didn't I just focus on that? Then I could be rich showing people that I did that. Well, no, like that's not actually what my journey has been. My journey is led by internal prompts and urges, downloads and intuitive understandings, knowings, remembrances. That's what leads my journey. And when I tune into myself and who I am and what I believe and what I'm here for, then it's a lot easier for me to navigate in the face of somebody else's beliefs that are contrary. It's okay, we can disagree, we can have a different perspective, and all I know about that is that we're meant to. We're meant to have a different perspective. It's okay. It doesn't invalidate me, and I don't need to invalidate them. If this is someone that I care about, that I'm in a close relationship with, and that they're suffering because of a belief that they have, I would hope that they would come to the understanding that they have control over that and they can change that if they would like to end their suffering, because I don't like to see people suffering. But I also understand that all of the suffering that I've been through has brought me to here. And now that I'm here, I wouldn't change it. Like, I don't want to go through it again necessarily, but I'm really glad to be where I am. And I wouldn't want to rob somebody else of getting to where they are. Because there's something about the contrast that is important, that is helpful, that is enriching our lives. There's one of the Hermetic principles about the pendulum, and you can only go as high as you've been low. So, I wouldn't know how wonderful it is to be where I am had I not been in those states of suffering and survival before. You know what I mean? So when we're offered these solutions that are quick fixes, things like medication, things like escapism, things like, buy something new and shiny, or be the boss, or make a lot of money, or, whatever it may be for us, gain recognition or followers, or, be the leader, or do something sneakily to destroy somebody, or whatever it is that, is presented to us as sort of like the escape or the solution that we don't have to actually do anything for. Well, you might argue, well, I have to work to achieve this certain status. It's like, yes, but you're distracted because you're working for a status that somebody else presented to you as a solution. We've heard plenty of celebrities talk about their misery, their emotional suffering. We know that's not solved by having a lot of money or recognition. We know that. Absolutely the only way to resolve any of these like misunderstandings within our own energy body is to go inward to find our own answers. They don't come from outside of us. If your answer has come from outside of you, it's not your answer. Now, something from outside of you, someone else's wisdom shared, can be inspiring, but it's inspiring you to find your own wisdom, to find your own answer, to find your own solution. It's just letting you know that there is one. So that's what my hope is. Not to tell you what to do, but to remind you that there is this other option, that life looks a lot different when we utilize it, that it's so important because there is another way that this thing could go. You know? Like, the choices we make today absolutely reflect how our lives will go and the life that we live out. And so, one thing I can say is when I first found out that the solution for me to find love and be in a healthy relationship with another person was that I would need to love myself first, I cried. Because at that time, I had never experienced fulfillment in that department, and I didn't think that I could do it for myself. Because there was a part of me wounded and longing for my parents' love still. And instead of just giving up because I didn't like the solution offered, and what felt to be like the true solution when it was offered, I took the steps. And as I took the steps, I learned to love myself. And it was a lot of steps, and it was a lot of days, and it was showing up for myself over and over again, and it was earning my own trust back, you know, to the realization that I actually could show up for myself and that it did matter. And all these years later, all I can say is thank goodness I took the steps. Thank goodness I didn't give up. Thank goodness that I just kept on the path, you know, because the path did get somewhere. And sure, sometimes it was like, I just want to be there. But no, later it was like, oh, I get to enjoy this path, you know. It's like if you can imagine walking up from the hell realms, where you are when you're in suffering and lack, up through to the heaven realms where you know that everything is happening for you and there is enough. Imagine what that road looks like to you and how the scenery starts to change and how the difficulties and the scary things fall away and how the ground that you walk on gets more and more solid and more appealing and more enjoyable to walk. And that's what it's been like for me. So I just want to share that because I feel like it's worthwhile, and I'm so glad that I made it my main focus, and I was so lucky to be able to do that. You know, what brought me to that was an actual, like, failure to function in the reality as society had presented it to me. Like, you know, go to school, have friends, go to college, graduate, get a career, get married, buy a house, like, have children. That did not work for me. I could not conform to that. And when I couldn't, I collapsed within that. And then I had the time that I needed to actually recover myself. So in one way, in one view, you could say that the reality didn't support me, the societal structure, I failed to function in it. But on the other way, you could say that it actually served me very well. It served me very well. But it wouldn't have if I just gave up and if I just stayed being thrown in the woes of that, you know? Like if I just like let myself become homeless and gave up entirely on myself, deeming myself a victim to society's structure and my inability to live in it, that's where I would still be. But instead, I just took the steps. I just kept making the choice, and it was all the choice that I had. It was my free will that made the choices to get me to where I am, which is in freedom. And it's been so worth it, and I'm happy to connect with other like-minded souls who find themselves on the journey, wherever you might be on the path. And I'm also glad to share my experiences and my perspective for anyone who needs to know that it is worthwhile, that there are people who are doing it, and that, I'm not hiding things in my life. Like I'm not just like putting things on the surface here. Like you see my other videos, I share when I have car trouble. And there have been things that I've had to keep to myself because I've had certain like stalkery people, in my existence and stuff like that. That was one of the things I had to learn about, is manipulative liar type people. And, it's fine. Like I can talk about that, at some point here, because I'm not being influenced or troubled by it at this point. But there were times in my journey where I didn't talk about those kind of struggles that I faced. But, I will share any struggle that I need to if it's beneficial for someone to understand that I've been through it. But like at this point in my life where I find myself at, like, if you think about people and you go, oh, well, they're just showing us the best side of themselves when they show it publicly. It's like, yeah, I guess that's true and stuff, but like, I'm really not hiding any like struggles or awful things. I'm really content, happy, and peaceful, and I did it exactly the way that I've shared that I did it over many, many years of documenting this process. So yeah, it's just worth it. And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to ever face another challenge again. Like, but for me now, challenges are opportunities. And, everything is happening for me. So when something happens to challenge me, I know that it's happening for me. So, I look at possible reasons why that could be happening for me, or I ask the universe if I don't quite understand. Like, how is this serving me? And an answer is always served. And, sometimes if we're in a comfort zone, if we're comfortable in a place and we feel, safe and secure, we won't step out of it and challenge ourselves. So sometimes the universe will step in with some sort of circumstance that will cause us to want to push ourselves out of that comfort zone, or that will cause us to have to step up out of that comfort zone in order to regain our balance or navigate the challenge that we're faced with. And that's not wrong. Like, life is much more fulfilling when we face challenges. When you lay down at the end of the day and you faced a challenge successfully, that feels a lot different than when you lay down at the end of the day and you've told yourself a story of, I've wasted my whole day and I haven't accomplished anything. Even if you had to take a day of rest, please, find out why you have that story if you're telling yourself that it was a waste. Because a restful day does not have to be a wasteful day. A restful day is a day that my cells are regenerating. A restful day is a day that my body is reorganizing its structures and rebuilding its cells and being nourished and knowing that I care about its need for rest. So there's no place that I'm willing to keep telling myself a story of lack or not enough or victimization or bad or not good enough or failure. No place at all. Like, I'm a human. I'm allowed to feel the things I feel. Even if I felt disappointed that I was having to face a challenge, I would just be present with the part of me who felt disappointed. And as I would then proceed to move through the challenge. Like, I'm allowed, there's nothing that is in me that says it's bad to feel that, or that I'm a failure because I felt that. You know what I mean? So I'm prepared and ready to handle life now in a way where, the same things could happen to me that always happened, but I would just navigate them in such a way that it wouldn't be torture and it wouldn't be suffering anymore. And it's pretty unlikely that I would face those same challenges that I've already traversed because, I have learned and understood what I needed to and neutralized the energy in those ones that I was meant to by now. Okay. If you have any questions, please feel free to start a conversation. I'm always open to a great conversation. I love forward-thinking, open-minded, growth-oriented conversations. I don't mind being challenged on thoughts. I like taking my thoughts or my understandings, if they have like a, a weakness or somewhere that they don't quite make sense or correlate, I'm open to questioning them. Not endlessly, not like getting stuck in mind fuckery, because there is a point where it's like, if my intuition tells me something, but my mind doesn't understand it, I'm still going to go with my intuition, Like, I trust myself that much. My mind can absolutely deter me from my right track if I let it. So there's a balance of using my mind to analyze situations, and it's not always helpful to analyze situations. So I don't mind explaining my perspectives, but I'm not, I'm not into like endlessly trying to like question the meaning of life, because I think it's a personal thing. So, okay. I'm going to stop there, and instead of rambling on, we've talked for a little bit. Feel free to give me feedback or ask questions about what we've mentioned here. How's your journey going? May it be exactly what you need.